Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Anant Narayan Bhatt, working as a scientist in a DRDO lab. It's called Institute of Nuclear Medicine and Allied Sciences and situated in Delhi. Today we will talk about protein engineering for disulfide bonds and how we can modify them to modify the enzyme activity and specificity. And this is from the paper called Molecular Enzymology and Protein Engineering. So, in this chapter of protein engineering for disulfide bonds, we will be focusing on several aspects. So, these aspects are basically protein engineering. What is protein engineering and how we can perform this? Then we will be talking about disulfide bonds. What are the importance of disulfide bonds? What are basically the disulfide bonds and why its engineering is required? And then how we can do the engineering of disulfide bonds. So that will be the third topic, and then we will discuss about the successful examples, like what are those examples which have been shown a very good success in industry when the disulfide bond was engineered basically. So to start with protein engineering, first to introduce that what is basically protein engineering. Like naturally occurring enzymes, they may not suit the industrial or pharmaceutical requirement, and these requirements are like suitability with the environment, like industrial environment are different, then stability in those environments for those reactions, then solubility and desired level of functionality. So these are different specificities or requirements which naturally occurring enzymes may not very well suit because they are evolved for in vivo environment, like for the cells, so they may not suit the industrial requirement. So protein engineering, basically it modifies the properties of protein to fit into these industrial and pharmaceutical requirements, right? Then protein engineering, it applies various methods how we can perform protein engineering. That there are two different methods. The first one is basically rational protein design approach, and this protein design approach needs the complete understanding of the structure of the protein. So it employs site directed mutagenesis. So you need to know that which amino acid, if you will change this amino acid, then there will be change in the protein stability, or if you will not change this enzyme, then there will be no change in the protein stability or functionality. So by doing rational protein design approach, it changes the structure, function and mechanism. So for better improved function, we do rational protein designing. Then the second approach is directed evolution approach. In this approach, you need not to know about the protein per se. So this process is random. So by applying DNA recombinant technology, we do the random mutations, and after doing these random mutations, we get several clones. So we screen these clones and then try to find out which desired clone is having high stability or high functionality. So this is a very random approach. So for this you need high throughput screening and then a big infrastructure for doing this one. But the good thing is, like, suppose that if your desired enzyme, that if you don't know its structure, then also you can apply this approach and can find out some variant, some clone in which you will have the desired applications of the enzyme, desired virtues of the enzymes. So enzymes can be re-engineered to be more stable, more active, or even perform new functions. Sometimes we add new functions to the enzymes. So these can be protein drugs, and can be safer and effective when they are injected in the humans or patients. So protein engineering is basically fulfilling the requirement of healthcare, agriculture and development of truly sustainable process. So it is good, but the limitation is, like, there are a lot of proteins which were discovered and characterized, but unfortunately, because of these limitations like stability, their functionality in different environment, only very few, like 20 or so, they can be very good success in industrial processes. So the major barrier in finding enzymes with the desired activities and suitability is, like, specialized industrial application, like at high temperature or in a very specific environment, and these naturally occurring enzymes, they denature when the temperature is high, or they are solubilized in some organic solvent to fulfill these processes. So you can find out in this table that which listed number of enzymes which are basically being used for industrial application, like alpha amylase is used in beer making, alcohol production, then catalase, which is used in antioxidant in preparing foods, then lipase, which is involved in cheese making, preparation of flavorings, and so many things, papain, which can tenderize the basically the meat, and so many other protein products, then the rennet, which is involved in the cheese making. So this list of enzymes which is basically being used in the industrial application, in the food industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, at several places, and these are the best examples which has taken these enzymes, has taken from the nature and being utilized in the industry. So we will discuss about disulfide bonds. So what is basically disulfide bonds is the disulfide bond is formed between the side chains of two cysteine residues, and these cysteine residues can come from either interchain or intrachain. I mean, sometimes they come from two different dimers, two different monomers to make dimer, but sometimes they are in the same chain to give the rigidity to the protein molecules, and they basically form these cysteine residues. They need oxidizing environment to form these disulfide bonds. So those proteins which are there in the inside the cell microenvironment of intracellular microenvironment, there it is a reducing environment, so cysteine cannot form the disulfide bonds. So it needs a oxidizing environment where it can easily form the disulfide bond between the SH groups of two cysteine residues. These disulfide bonds, they can be disrupted also if some reducing agent like beta mercaptoethanol or DTT, which is dithiothiotol, is added, then it will disrupt the disulfide bond also. So most of the proteins that work in the fluctuating and harsh cellular milieu, they contain disulfide bonds. As we said, like inside the cell, the environment is reducing, so disulfide bond cannot cannot form. But for majority of the extracellular proteins, the disulfide bond formation occurs. So what it does basically, what is the use of disulfide bond formation is it stabilizes the native conformation of a protein, then it lowers the entropy of the unfolded form, thereby facilitating the folding process. Then they can also decrease the stability of folded proteins by restricting energetically favorable conformational changes. So if the formation occurs first, disulfide bond formation, sometimes it may be a hindrance for proper protein folding. So then disulfide bonds protects protein from oxidants and proteolytic enzymes in the extracellular environment. So mainly for extracellular proteins, it is generally protective. Then disulfide bonds maintain protein integrity and increases its half-life. So beside structural stability, like as we discussed that most of the time disulfide bond provides structural stability, the disulfide bond also regulates the function. Like in some cases, for example, some secreted soluble proteins and cell surface receptor is controlled by cleavage of one or more of their disulfide bonds. So it regulates the function, it regulates the signaling. In case of NRF2, you can see in this picture, like release of antioxidant activator, which is NRF2 from KEAP1, is dependent on the formation of disulfide bond in the inhibitor molecule KEAP1. So you can see once oxidant is available, this oxidant, it oxidizes the cysteine residue, so the disulfide bond formation occurs, due to which there is change in the structure of the KEAP1 molecule, and it releases the NRF2, and then this NRF2, free and active NRF2, it can go and bind in the nucleus and can activate the transcriptional activation. So the disulfide bond formation, how it occurs, the redox environment within the cytosol preserves the cysteine sulfahydryl in a reduced state, so no disulfide bond formation can occur. Then disulfide bonds rapidly form outside of the cell in the presence of oxygen. So whenever the protein is secreted, it can easily form outside the cell when it is secreted out. So most disulfide bonds in proteins secreted from eukaryotic cells are formed in the endoplasmic reticulum, where the post-translational modifications or after synthesis, protein is properly being folded. So endoplasmic reticulum offers an oxidizing environment as well as chaperones and disulfide isomerases to ensure correct protein folding and disulfide connectivity. Because if the disulfide bonds are not properly connected, like if some other cysteine is, suppose that cysteine A should form the disulfide bond with cysteine B and it forms, let's say, with cysteine C, then it is a wrong folding and wrong structure formation. So these chaperones, they ensure the proper disulfide bonding should take place. So that is why in ER they are properly folded, they are properly being taken care in this oxidizing environment in endoplasmic reticulum. So engineering disulfide bonds are basically, disulfide engineering is a directed design. As we discussed that the protein engineering can be of two types. So this engineering is basically a directed design. That means you need to know that where are these cysteine residues are situated. So disulfide engineering is basically nothing else than either adding the cysteine or removing the cysteine from the protein molecule. So you need to know that where are these cysteine residues are situated and what are their role, whether they are involved in disulfide bond formation or not. So it's a directed design approach. So the understanding that disulfide bonds provide considerable stability to proteins, because once the disulfide bond is formed, it's a covalent bond, it gives a lot of strength to the molecule, because it is basically either secondary or it is mainly tertiary structure or quaternary structure. So it gives lot of strength to the protein, stability to the protein. So this understanding basically prompted the scientists or researchers to introduce even more disulfide bonds to increase the stability of the protein, of the desired proteins, which are either for industrial applications or pharmaceutical applications. So there are many biomedical and industrial applications are known. Some of very known examples are for the stability and to increase the stability and half-life of protein-based therapeutics, and then stability of industrial enzymes, which can greatly improve their yield and expand their operational range. So these range can be either temperature or pH. Like if you increase the stability, so even in the industrial application, if the temperature is high, then also these enzymes can sustain and it can perform their function. As well as in some reactions, like because of the product formation, the pH may get changed. So if the stability is increased, then it can sustain at a wider range of pH. So in engineering disulfide bonds, however, not all engineered disulfide bond produce it always add stability. Sometimes it adds stability, but sometimes it destabilizes, or even it may lead to the loss of activity, because for activity there should be good flexibility also in the enzyme molecule is required. So since disulfide bond formation will give more rigidity to the protein molecule, it may not actually sometimes leads to a better activity. So it has advantages, but it has disadvantages also. So we need to find out that which disulfide bond formation is providing stability, but it is not compromising the activity at the same point of time. So the computational modeling approach can help us in finding out that which disulfide bond will be providing stability or stabilize, but it will not compromise the functionality of that desired protein. So while engineering the disulfide bonds, there is generally a direct correlation between the number of disulfide bonds and thermostability of a protein. So this prompted for more engineering so that the stability of the protein can be increased. So to increase the stability of a variety of enzyme, disulfide bonds have been added to their structure. However, there is a limitation, like the problem, if there will be too many disulfide bonds, then it may perturb the normal function. So it is important to add more disulfide bonds to increase the protein stability, but at the same point of time, it should not be too many to hinder the functionality of the protein molecule. So for engineering the thermostable xylenase, it is required for industrial application. That disulfide engineering was applied to for the production of thermostable xylenase, and an enzyme which is used in the, so xylenase is enzyme which is used in the degradation of hemicellulose, which is a compound generally darkens the paper. So to remove it, it was important for the production of good quality and more brighter or white papers. So the use of variant xylenase that function efficiently at high industrial temperature allows the use of less bleach in paper production. So if less bleach will be used because of the more better xylenase, then it will cause less pollution. So that is how it gives a very good industrial application. Thermostable xylenase can be utilized for less pollution by using less bleach in the paper production industry. So while engineering the xylenase, there was an addition of disulfide bond that stabilizes the protein molecule, and it stabilizes it almost increases the stability at room temperature by just twofold, and it protected against heat activation. So there is need for the engineering of acetylcholinesterase also. So acetylcholinesterase is an enzyme which is irreversibly inhibited by organophosphate, which are like basically insecticides, and carbamate. These are two classes of insecticides. So it allows its use in. So since they are irreversibly inhibited, this enzyme can be used as a biosensor for the detection of these insecticides, organophosphates and carbamates. So Drosophila acetylcholinesterase is the most sensitive enzyme known and has been improved by in vitro mutagenesis by applying protein engineering. Its stability has to be improved for extensive utilization as a biosensor. So this is the basically task. So for engineering the Drosophila acetylcholinesterase, 7 different mutations were introduced for the addition of new disulfide bonds. So out of these 7 cysteines which were introduced, majority of the disulfide bonds tested, they did not rather increase the thermostability of the protein or stability of the protein. Rather, they decrease the stability of the protein. So however, the mutant 2, which is in this study, which is known as M2, published in BMC Biochemistry, this mutation which connects the N-terminal domain with the C-terminal domain was found to be more stable as compared to other mutants, and it was found to be more stable against all the known denaturants when its stability was measured in the laboratory. So engineering the lipase is also very challenging for the food industry basically, and several other applications also. So the extracellular lipase from Penicillium camemberti has unique substrate specificity restricted to mono and diglycerides. However, its thermostability is very low as compared to other homologs. And why those homologs are more thermostable? Because you can see there is a disulfide bridge which is situated in the H-lanuginosa lipase. There is a disulfide bond, so it is more stable. However, the P-camemberti lipase is more specific. So there is need to introduce this disulfide linkage into the P-camemberti lipase to make it more stable at the same point of time, because it has more substrate specificity. So in this example of P-camemberti lipase, the disulfide was engineered into the former enzyme P-camemberti lipase in the hope of obtaining a significantly more stable enzyme. So the double mutant Y22C, where the tyrosine is mutated to cysteine, and G269C, where the glycine is mutated to cysteine, was found to increase the melting temperature of the protein from 51 degrees centigrade to 63 degrees centigrade, and the optimal temperature and then pH was also changed. So this is a very nice example of disulfide engineering in lipase, which was published in Protein Engineering. So we will discuss about this example, which is engineering of the R-chinensis lipase. So this is a lipase enzyme which is required for basically in the fermentation technology to be used in the industry for the industrial application. So the key to enzyme function is the maintenance of an appropriate balance between molecular stability and structural flexibility in case of this enzyme. So in this enzyme, the lid domain, which is very important for interfacial activation, is the most flexible part in the lipase structure. So if that part is not stabilized, then the enzyme may denature. So the idea is to make it relatively more rigid, so that it don't get destabilized so easily. So a rational design was applied to explore the relationship between lid rigidity and lipase activity by introducing a disulfide bond in the hinge region of the lid domain to improve this addition improved the thermostability of R. chinensis lipase without interfering with its catalytic performance. So you can see in this picture that for the disulfide engineering of R. chinensis lipase, a disulfide bridge between phenylalanine, which is one mutated to cysteine and at 95th position, and same phenylalanine which was mutated to cysteine at 214 position, was introduced into the lipase from R. chinensis. This was the hinge region. So to increase the stability of the hinge region was very necessary to increase the stability of the entire lipase molecule. So by introduction of this disulfide bond, this R. chinensis lipase was stabilized enormously or significantly. So by addition of this disulfide bond in the hinge region or in the lid domain, this disulfide variant, it has 7-degree high Tm as compared to the parent enzyme, and probably contributed by the stabilization of the geometric structure of the lid region of that particular domain. And the addition of a new disulfide bond did not interfere with the enzyme catalytic activity of the enzyme, which can be seen in the right graph, that the catalytic activity, basically kcat, is also not compromised. So the another popular example which we will discuss is the T4 lysozyme. So how the disulfide engineering helped the T4 lysozyme to suit the application and requirements is like T4 lysozyme 6. It has 6 variants, and they were created by using a site-directed mutagenesis approach. So these variants were tested and were generally found to be more thermostable. However, some variants, they lost the activity. I mean, because of this engineering, probably they were more close to the active site, or whatever, they lost the activity. And this loss of activity can be easily defined that because the rigidity, because of increased rigidity, they are not so flexible, and then they lost the activity. However, it is clear that increasing disulfide bonds, it always leads to protein stability, and it is feasible by engineering protein enzyme that we can make the proteins more thermostable. For engineering T4 lysozyme, one can see like different mutations, like the different mutations from A to F. There are 6 variants were created by engineering disulfide bonds, in which 1, 2, or 3 disulfide bonds were introduced to see its stability, and its Tm one can see in the table, and which goes from 42 degree to 46, 47, 48 degree, and highest 53 degree in variant C after introduction of 1 disulfide bonds. However, when 2 disulfide bonds were introduced at 2 different positions, its thermostability of the protein has further increased up to 58 or 59 degree. However, when further one in F mutant, when there was one more addition of disulfide bonds, can increase the thermostability up to 65.5 degree centigrade. So in another example where human pancreatic RNase is engineered, so in RNase from bull semen has been used as anti-tumorigenic agent in cancer patients. So it degrades ribosomal RNA, thereby blocking protein synthesis and causing cell death, the cancerous cells. So the anti-tumor activity is dependent on the dimeric structure of this pancreatic RNase molecule. So in human, there is antibody production takes place against the bull semen RNase, which is being used for this anti-cancer therapy. So the antibody is produced against this bull semen RNase. To eliminate this problem of the antibody production of human and antibody production in human body against this bull semen RNase, human pancreatic RNase has been engineered to increase its functional life and activity using disulfide bonds. So by introduction of these disulfide bonds, this human pancreatic RNase was basically now being used in anti-cancer therapy. So as we have seen that addition of disulfide bonds always leads to stability and then so many other advantages to in the proteins. Sometimes reducing disulfide bonds is also very useful, like in those proteins which like cysteine residues may cause dimerization through intermolecular disulfide bonding, and it inhibits enzyme activity because dimer is not a active form. So in such enzymes, converting cysteine to another amino acid like serine residue, it may be useful. Like so what basically it does, like if you convert from cysteine to serine, then disulfide bond cannot take place, so it reduces the dimerization. At the same time point of time, because the dimer is inactive, it will maintain the activity the enzyme in monomeric form. So in another example of reducing disulfide bonds, in many early expression studies, the expressed protein showed much less activity than the predicted because of high disulfide bonds. So these cysteine residues were identified in case of interferon, which used to show 10% of the antiviral activity of authentic glycosylated form, maybe because of the high disulfide bond formations. So in E. coli production, the unglycosylated protein exists as dimers and higher oligomers that were almost inactive. So this activity was greatly increased by changing different cysteines to serine residues. So students, let us summarize that what we have learned in this module. So the first thing we learned that naturally occurring enzymes, they may not suit the industrial or pharmaceutical requirement, like their suitability with the environment, then stability, solubility, functionality, etc. Then enzymes can be re-engineered to be more stable, to fit in all these, like environmental suitability, stability, functionality, etc. So they can be re-engineered to suit the industrial requirement. At the same point of time in pharmaceutical, they can be re-engineered to become more safer and more effective when they are injected in humans. Then this disulfide bond formation basically occurs between the cysteine residue in polypeptide chain, and it for formation of disulfide bond, it is necessary that the environment should be oxidizing, because then only the disulfide bond formation will occur, and it stabilizes those proteins mainly which are secretory in the nature. So they needs to be secreted in extracellular environment, and beside providing stability, it disulfide bond also regulates the function actually, like in case of transcription factor NRF2, disulfide bond formation basically it dissociates the NRF2 from its inhibitor, which is KEAP1, and it facilitates the degradation. So it is important for functional regulation of transcription factors also many times. However, not all engineered disulfide bond produce an increase in stability. Sometimes, as we discussed, that sometimes it may be destabilizing and the enzymes may lose its activity. So before going to that, before trying that which disulfide bond can provide a stability or cannot, we need computational modeling approach to first to predict whether changing which cysteine residue for disulfide bond formation may help the protein engineering process. Then disulfide engineering was applied to produce many enzymes for industrial application. It has been very useful in industrial applications, and those, for example, like there are so many lipases we took as example, then acetylcholinesterase, RNases, T4 lysozyme we have discussed. So all these examples are successful examples of disulfide engineering. Then reducing cysteine residues can also sometimes be very fruitful, like in those enzymes where dimerization through disulfide bond can lead to the loss of activity. So in that case, if you reduce cysteine, then probably it helps the enzyme. So thank you very much.